We have a lot to talk about this morning. I mean, a lot to talk about. And a lot of interesting data, a lot of interesting facts, which we're going to all kind of put together and kind of collate. We're going to reamass them. We're going to look at all of this and ask ourselves the question, what's really happening? What's the truth? What's happening? And what's going on? Let's get down to brass tacks. First of all, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to talk about something. Tomorrow night is going to be one of the most important events in a long time. And that is going to be, believe it or not, the debate between Tampon Timmy and J.D. Vance. And on paper, as they say, it doesn't really matter because of the fact that no one actually cares about the issue of the vice president until now. See, up till now, the whole notion of the vice president, John Nance Garner said the vice president is nothing more or as important as a warm bucket of, he said piss at the time, but later on they said spit. You know, the vice president casts the tie vote and does some things, but for the most part, the vice president is there in the event something happens, God forbid, to a president. That's really it. That's it. And in the case of Kamala Harris, I don't think anybody's really thinking that, but what they are thinking is that it shows yet again the theory, the idea behind these rancid people. They don't seem to care, and they don't seem to follow any rational thinking. American Rebel, thank you so much for being a member of our family. We welcome you. Now, tomorrow night, J.D. Vance will talk about what he can and can't do. I can tell you what I think he should do, but that doesn't really matter. But there's something that is going on here. And I mentioned it yesterday, and I explained this to you, and I said that it was indicative of and seen by virtue of how the SNL folks, the liberal, progressive, woke, whatever counterparts, have been allowed to unleash their comedic wrath towards Kamala and Tampon Tim. Absolutely. This is bigger than anything you can possibly imagine. And the reason for it is that, and this is important, the reason for it is that there are rules that say, okay, go ahead. Things you've got to pick up on. Number one, when Zelensky met with Trump, unbelievable. When Zelensky met with Trump, that said, it's over. Start making a deal. We understand what's happening. Maybe this is bigger than, go ahead, talk to the man. He's going to be critical in whatever furtherance of this ridiculous cause is. Okay? Whatever this Ukraine thing is, go ahead and talk to Trump. This, I can't say any better than what I've said. This is critical. Go ahead and talk to Trump. Go ahead and do it. Starmer, same thing. Talk to Trump. And then the other night, I mentioned this last night, there were two instances. First, it was as though SNL, and remember, they are the important, and this is critical, they are the people that are responsible for the entertainment branch of the, I guess you might want to say, they're responsible for, they're the entertainment branch, so to speak, of the shadow government. We've talked about the superstructure of how things are done. Of course, there's Congress. Of course, there's politics. But there are the media, entertainment, music. This goes way back. You could say Tavistock to an extent, but way back to the 60s and how Intel, CIA, all of these people worked with everybody from Laugh-In to the CIA in art, movies, Tom Clancy, PSYOPs. It's always been this group. It's always been this unofficial understanding that if you want to succeed in the world, and it goes back to before but certainly during World War II and propaganda and the like, those considered pro-American during World War II. In any event, what we saw last night, their version of the jokes that Jim Gaffigan did, absolutely nailed this creepy, weird, and let me see if we can say this. And you have to be very, very careful. With all of this talk that we have about LGBTQ and, understanding different ways of life and the like, there are people who still do not necessarily consider it a badge of honor for a grown man to act, forgive me, in an effeminate, rather weird, somewhat creepy manifestation, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense to you? I hope it does. Tampon Tim will turn out to be the worst. Now, I want you to look at this. This is the headlines. And remember what you're doing here. I'm telling you. Make sure you get an account. I don't care if you're doing it or not. You must follow Twitter or X. I can't call it X. And go through the breaking kind of, it's one of the best kind of reviews and adumbrations of what's out there and what's being explained. This is Tampon Tim yesterday at University of Michigan game, I believe. And they were booing him because he screwed up the traffic, and he showed up thinking he could somehow rival the positive reaction of President Trump when he shows up to various football games. Watch the half a peace sign, the finger gesture that Tampon Tim appears to give to those individuals who are showing their distaste via booing.
Trump 2024, baby!
Watch it. Did you see that? Maybe you can't see that. One more time. This is very Zapruder. Watch his right hand. Watch the middle finger.
Oh, yeah. Trump 2024, baby!
There we go. Now, we're going to be watching this during the day. People are going to be saying, well, that's been...
Trump 2024, baby!
There it is. This is what everybody's saying. One more time. What do you think? Do you see this?
Trump 2024, baby!
Okay. We don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say, we know. What do you think? What do you think that does? You think that was the finger? Yes or no? What do you think? You being this, what do you think? What do you think about this? It looked as though it was a legit finger. And today, this is getting more attention. Somebody says he's pointing. Oh, it was a pointing, all right. Somebody says he's pointing. Could be. It's, we need to zero in and the angle of this. I'll let other people go full Zapruder on this if you would like. But it goes to show you. Now, let's go back a little bit more, because for some reason, this is another reason, another indication that I believe they are leaning towards the Trump victory, is they're highlighting more Biden. We are seeing more Biden today than we have in the past, I don't know how many months. Watch this. This will blow your mind.
To announce a new 2.4.
Now remember, let me see if we can get at the top of this screen, this double, is he's talking about this ATM, this complete NATO sellout to Ukraine, okay? At the bottom The bottom segment of this is his reaction about what he is going to do to help hurricane victims and the like. Okay. Remember today's theory: Trump will crush Kamala over the issue she and Pops created to threaten whether our sovereignty. And that is still going to be this disaster of the border. But there are other things as well. Now watch this. Remember, critical states right now feeling the wrath of this latest hurricane. Now watch this.
I'm proud to announce a new $2.4 billion package.
$2.4 billion package.
Package of security assistance. We've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them. We have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet.
We've given them everything. When it comes to, and this is important, when it comes to Ukraine, anything goes. Anything. When it comes to Helene, people are saying in my area, my native the Tampa Bay area, which is St. Pete, Clearwater, Pinellas, Tampa, but this is within the Bay, but whatever, the Gulf. They're saying Helene was the worst. And he is saying specifically, he said yet again, nothing. One more time. This is important. Just listen to how he's just this total and absolute detachment. And this has to be front and center in those areas. The Trump administration, I trust, will absolutely flood social media, not TV. Forget TV. Watch this again.
I'm proud to announce a new $2.4 billion package of security assistance.
A new and additional more $2.4 billion that is going to Zelensky's pocket, military industrial complex contractors, war profiteers, back to the weapons people. It goes, and when it finally gets broken down, nothing goes to Ukraine. Nothing. They don't have new weaponry and no. This is the oldest con in the world. But look how he's just reading this.
We've given them all everything that we have.
We've given them all we've had. Hurricane Helene. Screw you, Americans. Screw you.
We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
We're working hard. No, we're not. We're not doing anything.
Any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them. We have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet.
We have, even though they didn't ask for it yet. This is the Trump reelection. This is it. This is the Trump reelection. It's incredible. Walz has a horrible temper, as we'll see tomorrow. Oh, yes. I think you're right about that. And I think we'll know just how Mr. Vance can pull and cull and tripwire that. Let me show you another Joe Biden. This is very important as well. They asked President Biden, remember this, he is the president, he is in charge. They asked Biden what he thought about the Yemen strikes. And I'm not even going to get into what's happening. I'm not even going to get into it. Because most Americans are like this. It's not a subject of the election. And people say, hey, that's great. In a weird way, sometimes we like wars. And if there's bunker busters, we think that's cool and all that stuff. So in any event, but let me show you this, which is very important. This is critical. This is Biden being asked about the Yemen strikes. Now also watch, this is important, how pissed off Jill is. She has nothing to do with him, nothing to do with the event. She has been sidelined. She actually had a cabinet meeting. She is so upset, so detached, so through with these people. Watch specifically. This is incredible.
Mr.
Well, watch.
President, will you deploy more U.S. troops to the
Hold on. First of all, watch Jill. I'm sorry. Before we'll break this down. Watch Jill come around the side. Nobody's really even helping her. She walks in front of him like, screw you, I'm getting on the plane. I don't need this. Watch it.
Mr.
Here she comes.
President, will you deploy more U.S. troops to the Middle East?
Up yours, buddy.
Mr. President, has Netanyahu gone too far?
Any comment on the strikes in Yemen, Mr. President?
Now, look at this. Look at he's looking. This is Jim Carrey. Any comment on the strikes in Yemen? Okay, these are the Houthis. Okay, remember Yemen. Any comment on the strikes in Yemen? The strikes in Yemen. Look at that gate. Look at that gate. That lumbering, weird, strange, stiff-legged gate.
Both sides have got to settle the strike. Support the collective bargaining effort. I think they'll settle the strike.
Think they'll settle the strike. He's thinking about the strikes for supply chainers and longshoremen. I mean, just this man doesn't have a. Did you notice though, Jill? I find that fascinating. She's done. Not even a wave, nothing. You know, F you. I'm on the plane. Enough with this. You don't want me? You don't want me running your cabinet? Well, no, we don't. Absolutely, we really don't. Now, here's some other good news too. I've got a lot of just a veritable veritable potpourri of things. People are saying repeatedly, and I hope you're following my Twitter account, my X account at Lionel Media, because he's going to get Pennsylvania. They're already saying he's won. I don't want to say this. I don't even want to get to this. I don't even want to jinx anything. But they know it's over. Listen to this.
This is I'm not feeling my best right now about where we are on Kamala Harris in a place like Michigan right now. We have her underwater in our polling.
This is everywhere you can imagine. This is everywhere. People are saying over and over and over again. This is the thing which is so important. Now, another thing which is, again, forgive me, because I see these stories, I think, oh, you'll like this. You'll like this. Members of the conspiratorium, watch this. Did you see this horror? Now, I want you to look at and listen to me very carefully. For the longest time, many of us in our particular area of the world have believed that there are the real actual possibilities that one day weather may be weaponized. Weather and disaster, fires, earthquakes, tectonic plates, and Tesla waves, and tsunamis, and earthquakes, and volcanoes. And one of the most important things is fire. And fire, I don't understand. I don't understand how when we have fires, we will have satellites that go up, satellite, hotspot. There it is. Fly in, douse it, get it right there. That's it. Unleash 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 air. Just bring them in. Soak everything. Absolute cloud seed. Make it rain. Whatever you want. Stop this now. We have the most incredible technology when it comes to, again, cloud seeding, to every kind of bombs you can imagine. Every kind of destruction. But when it comes to this, well, we don't know. When it comes to this, we don't seem to know what to do precisely. This is a little bit of a problem. We don't know about this one. Now, watch this very carefully. Look at this fire line. Do you mean to tell me Just being, and I'm just a novice here. Do you mean to tell me that we really don't know how to handle this? Are you really telling me that this particular, just this line, no other line, this cannot be put out? You mean to tell me if I've focused tankers filled, jet tankers filled with water and filled with this and filled with everything, do you honestly really mean to tell me this can't be stopped? I don't understand it. I must be missing something. I must be missing something. There's something about this. There's something weird about. And look at what Helene has done. Look at the areas. Look at, this is war. This is war. This right now is, Mr. President, this is how you win the election. Not a penny for you. This is not Yemen. This is not Gaza. This is not Lebanon. This is not Beirut. This is not, the West Bank. No, this is here. This is the United States. And this man just scratches his arse and says, well, what do you do? But billions and billions and billions of dollars going outside. If you need one reason, ladies and gentlemen, to vote for Donald Trump, this is it. This is it. God is handing this to you. Absolutely splatter, hit everything you can, sir, regarding this. This is important. This is critical. Now, I want to show you some other things too, which I think are kind of interesting. And for no particular reason, I find it interesting, and maybe whatever. I love when some people, by virtue of their position in life, they think, like Bill Maher. Bill Maher thinks, I can talk about anything because I'm Bill Maher. I have writers who write this stuff for me. I have these, I read prompters, and they think that somehow I'm an intellectual or something. I don't know what. Now, for the longest time, there's a woman named Fran Lebowitz. Fran Lebowitz was very, very funny. She was this kind of a curmudgeon, backwards. She walks around with her same outfit, the Levi's, the cowboy boots, the same blazer. She just, it's her thing. Very New York oriented, New York centric. Came along during the days of the Andy Warhol period. Rod Hill says, how could JB know the old, how could JB know the aid for Asheville, North Carolina? Psychic? Oh, you know what? Psychotic, perhaps, maybe. But it's a very good question, sir. An interesting question. So anyway, but thank you. So Fran Lebowitz figures, I'm just so funny. Everything I say is hysterically funny. She was okay about New York at the time. She talked about smoking, and she talked about something. I've read her stuff. She's very, very funny, but you've got to know when to stay in your lane. So she was on Bill Maher, and I ran across it. I had to share this with you. And says one of the most preposterous things about the Supreme Court, because she believes, a lot of people do, that if you're funny, if you're Jon Stewart, or you're whoever you are, John Oliver, or if you're on SNL, that if you're funny, you can say whatever you want. You can extrapolate that. You can extravasate from the borders of your expertise and ooze into the oncoming traffic of something you should stay away from. Listen to Fran Lebowitz on the Supreme Court.
So the Democrats had elected people.
By the way, bless her heart. Get up in the morning. I'm sorry to say this. And this is as good as you're going to get. After makeup and hair and styling, bless your heart. It's got to be tough. I don't want to be cruel. But just imagine every day. This is it. If that doesn't put you in a particular disposition, I don't know what does.
You know, the Democrats had like elected people. The Supreme Court is completely his. You know, I mean, it's so disgraceful. This
Now, she has no idea what the Supreme Court does.
court that it shouldn't even be allowed to be called the Supreme Court. You know,
Oh, how clever. Now, wait. She's going to make a supreme pun. Now, let's see. What would I say that is so over the top obvious that people would say, oh, come on. Oh, I know. Maybe a Motown reference, you know, Diana Ross and the Supremes. Nah, she wouldn't go there.
I mean, it's an insult to Motown.
Oh, thank you. Wow. The Supreme Court has no idea.
Called Supreme Court. So
and Bill's thinking to himself, this is going nowhere. Even he realizes this is lame. I don't know why she's here. I don't know where we're going with this.
it's not even a court.
It's not a court. The Supreme Court is not a court. Appellate courts are not a court. Appellate court is not a court. It's not a tribunal. The Supreme Court is not a court, according to Fran Lebowitz.
A court in the sense that the court of Louis XVI was a court.
Thank you.
You know, I mean, basically.
Now, when Roe against Wade, I would imagine, and I don't know if she's ever done this, but when Roe was enacted, she liked that court. Brown against Board of Education, she liked that court. I would say Map against Ohio in 64 or something, the exclusionary rule, she liked that. How about the cases that incorporated the corporation by reference of the various through the Privileges and Immunities Clause of the 14th Amendment, which codified the Bill of Rights to the states? I'm sure she liked that. She didn't like Dred Scott, but I'm sure she liked later on the various anti-discrimination statutes. I'm sure she liked that, but that's different.
It's a harem, okay? It's a harem. It's Trump's harem. So
a harem, Trump's harem.
I always feel sorry for the 3 real judges on the court. You know, I know a lot of people have jobs, not me, not you, and you have to go to work every day, and there are people you don't like at work. But can you imagine having to go to work every day? Alito? You have to.
She has no idea what she's talking about.
To go to work with Alito, with Kavanaugh, you know, I mean, it must be horrible. So
does she know them? No. Does she know what they've done? Has she any idea of their legislative, jurisprudential, judicial history? No.
What Biden should do, not that you asked, but when they passed that law, the Supreme Court passed that ruling, you know, where they said, you're not the president, you're the king, which
never said that. Never said that. Not even remotely close to saying
is what that ruling is. You can do whatever you want. You can never be, you know, held responsible.
Never said that. Never. She never read the decision. She has absolutely, and she's not being stopped for misinformation or disinformation.
I thought, you know, Biden's still the president. No one seems to notice, but
clever.
Biden should dissolve the Supreme Court.
Biden should dissolve the Supreme Court. Did you hear this? This is Fran Lebowitz, ladies and gentlemen. And there's this thing called the Constitution, and Biden should dissolve the Supreme Court after she just got done saying that she doesn't like the Supreme Court saying that the president can pretty much do whatever he wants to do. She wants Biden to dissolve the Supreme Court. Think about that.
Dissolve the Supreme Court?
Even he realizes.
I'm the president. I'm the king now, like you said, and go home.
Okay. Good to see you're centrist.
See, this is where we are. This is, I mean, no, she can say whatever she wants, and please, I in no way suggest that she cannot say this or that she cannot say whatever is stupid. But this is kind of where we are right now. It's like because we have become instant experts. Diet, religion, the Constitution, history. I was listening early this morning to one of the greatest I forget it. Jocelyn. He's I think. I'm trying to think of where he's. Anyway, he was talking about it was wonderful. The history of Russia, but Soviet Union, the fall of the Soviet Union, Lenin, Trotsky, Marx, how this came about. Absolutely brilliant. Makes Kotkin. This guy's got to. Anyway, but it explains this. And I loved the nuance. And I love that, I didn't know that. And I didn't know that. And people like the Fran Leibowitz have this idea that somehow they have been imbued with this power to say anything brilliant. Whatever she says is just brilliant. And people like Bill Maher, who is trying desperately, says, what do I do? I don't know how old he is or 70, but I got to find something, and I'm going to go maybe towards. It's like Mark Cuban. You notice Mark Cuban, he doesn't know what he's lost because they have spent so much of their time just being anti-Trump. The country's turned back and says, no, we're going to reelect him. And now they're saying, oh, my shtick doesn't work. And she realizes the shtick doesn't work either. Let me give you one more example about this, and this is important. There was a time in this country, whether you realize it or not, and I have a hard time understanding it, but there was a time when Milton Berle was considered the funniest man on the planet. Milton Berle was somebody that I will never understand how Milton Berle does anything remotely funny. I have no clue, but for some reason, and then one day it stopped. He was Mr. Television. Stopped. And they said, this is stupid. This doesn't work anymore. You always have to know when your act doesn't work anymore. There were people, Rush Limbaugh would still play today perfectly well. I don't know if Joe Pine would. I don't know if Bob Grant would. And I like Bob Grant. I don't know. I really, honest to God, don't know. I don't know. I think that Rush Limbaugh would play anywhere. I think, with all due respect, and I like her from what I remember of her, worked with her. Rachel Maddow doesn't exist. She has to be artificially, the platform has to be artificially created because most of the people in this country don't think like this. Certain people who fancy themselves members of the intelligentsia do, but most people do not. Okay. Two things to realize. Number one, knowing when it's over. There is a fellow, I shouldn't say this. I always say, don't talk about looks. And I always say that, and I, like most people, I can't avoid it sometimes. The thing about, like, for example, Fran Leibowitz, she thinks she's so I have to mention it. I have to just say, you think with all of this attention to your haberdasher, you think maybe you might want to consider, I don't know, a conditioner. Just kidding. I'm sorry I had to say that. When I see John Kerry, I think of the movie The Mask. Remember Eric Stoltz or whatever? The movie Mask with Cher. Listen to what he says very carefully. I want you to listen carefully. I want what he says about having to remove the First Amendment. Listen.
I think the dislike of and
by the way, check out that Punim. This man has so much money through his wife, Teresa Hines. This is Skull and Bones, or this guy's been around. He is so deep state, so shadow government. You think he could go to the best of the best of the best plastic surgeons, the best estheticians, the best that could transplant stem cells and this is what he gets? It fascinates me. How? Okay.
And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing.
Now, first of all, we don't have any anguish and problems with social media. Have you noticed that? We have that. We don't. They do. Why do you think that is? Because of the truth. The truth is what drives these people crazy. It's the truth, the truth, the truth, the truth. And understand what World Economic Forum is. We know it. You and I can go to Times Square and ask 1,000 of people, they don't know who it is. You can ask friends of yours at the next get together, they don't know who it is. They don't know who these, they go out there and they feel almost intellectually bulletproof. They feel like they can say whatever they want and nobody will care. But their thing is social media was the genie out of the bottle, and they want to get it back in because truth hurts them.
And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies.
Social media is a problem in our democracies. Do you understand what I'm saying? Did you hear what he said? Nobody's booing him. He's dead serious, and he's saying what they want to hear.
In terms of building consensus around any issue.
I don't know if I want to build consensus. I want to build consensus if people agree with me. But first of all, I want to be able to speak what I consider to be the truth. And I want you to be able to say what you consider to be the truth. And from that, we'll let the jury, namely the public, decide.
It's really hard to govern today.
It's hard to govern today. Yes, it always has been. That's what it is. He says it's hard to govern, meaning people will not allow themselves to be subjugated. People will not allow themselves to just be controlled. The boot heel on the neck. They don't want that. It's very difficult to do what we do.
You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact are kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree.
Who were the referees to determine what is and what is not a fact? You know who the referees were? We were. We determined what was and what wasn't a fact. He doesn't understand. He can't turn to somebody and say, excuse me, because there's more opinion, because there's a greater proliferation of opinion, because there are more people opining. He has less control, and it drives him crazy.
And people go and that people self-select where they go for their news or for their information.
Yes, I self-select. You might want, he probably goes to The Economist and MSDNZ and CNN and New York Times. Go ahead. Wouldn't have it any other way. That's called self-selection. You might want to hear a particular song, eat a particular meal, watch a particular film. It's called freedom. Yeah. You got a problem with that?
And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's
Cycle of
really,
truth.
really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the.
I don't want to build, I don't know what this building consensus is. I don't know if consensus is good where everybody agrees to the same thing.
45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera.
Accountability. How do we curb these things so that our message gets out and nothing countervailing is allowed to eke out or to seep through?
But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick,
like the New York Times,
has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation.
New York Times.
Our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So
the First Amendment, did you hear this? The First Amendment stands as an impediment for us to be able to hammering it out of existence. The First Amendment, that's true, stands in the way of preventing us from destroying, as Alex Jones is about to be completely atomized, and others as well. Maybe he's not the best example, but to me, he's just somebody who has an opinion, who is basically trying to be ablated.
What we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change.
To implement change, let me translate, to implement change, to exact limitations of speech, to exact and to procure and to direct censorship. to limit the ability of human beings to say what they want, when they want, how they want, at the relative volume they want, without some outboard tribunal coming along and deciding that they're going to get to the bottom of this, that they're going to answer this, that they're going to fix this. See what I'm saying? This is very scary stuff. And he's laying it out exactly for you. He's telling you. They're not hiding this.
Now, obviously, there are some people in our country who are prepared to implement change in other ways. And
So
that's
you're
really
questioning
dangerous.
really if democracy can survive unregulated social media.
I think
Can democracy survive if free speech remains unfettered? Think what he just asked.
democracies are very challenged right now and have not proven they can move fast enough or big enough to deal with the challenges that we are facing.
Democracies have not indicated they're fast enough or big enough to be able to quash, to crush, to ablate, to excise, to expurgate, to limit, to amputate, to destroy free speech, which we view to be problematic.
And to me, that is part of what this race, this election is all about. Will we break the fever in the United States?
I hope this causes you not to be able to be to focus today. I want this to resound. I want this to be echoing through your soul today. Cobb says, good morning, sir. That's one evil bastard right there. Indeed. I don't know which one you were talking to, but yes, you were correct. Morning, Mr. Rell. He looks like a lurch, acts like he's in charge. Who the is John Kerry? An excellent point. An excellent point. Christian Jana says, watch out, Uncle Lenny. They want to curb you. Well, okay. Thank you. Thank you. I like that. Watch out. What does that mean? Watch out. Laurie says, we're moving for more freedom, not less. Yes, indeed. I like when somebody says, watch out. Well, what does that mean? I don't know, but watch out. Well, should I not say anything? I don't know. Well, should I say less? I don't know. Well, what do you mean? I don't know. Just watch out. Well, there you go again. What should I do? I don't know, but no. We continue. There has to be a semblance of responsibility as to what we say, but I will let you say this. I hear things all the time that are just absurd, but I don't want to stop it. Whether it's about religion or faith or diet or health or the Constitution or law and order or history or anything for that matter. I let people say what they want. I don't want to have Fran Lebowitz ever limited from what she's saying, even though she is wrong. I don't want, let me come out and say, here's where she's wrong. Not shut her down, shut her off, deplatform her because she's spreading misinformation. No, we'll do it. We'll take care of it. Now, here's the one. This will cause your colon to go into immediate spasm. Get a load of this, Harridan.
The press needs a consistent, the press that's not supporting Trump,
The press that's not supporting Trump.
It's not supporting Trump blatantly, very persistently. The press that's trying to be the press, be objective.
If you are supporting Trump, you're not objective.
Be, reporting the facts.
The facts. If you're reporting in favor of Kamala, then that is okay.
The press needs a consistent narrative about the danger that Trump poses.
The press or opinion, the press, she's advocating this as an official stance.
Because,
nobody, this woman, it's, you know what? You may say to yourself, that's a kind of a terrible thing. We need her. You have to hear what this is. You have to hear what this is. Do you think in your heart of hearts that the only time that whenever there were times of incredible repression, that these people, like the days of, I don't know, Stalin or Mao, whoever your favorite is, do you think these people were that different than they are now? Do you? Do you think? Do you, honest to God, think? This is important to note. Do you think that these people are some, I don't know what the word is, some kind of monster that doesn't, that will never be seen today? Do you think that's it? Do you think that this is what censorship looks like? Of course it is. They want so much to shut us down. And what happens is they have been telling you for the longest time, you've got to keep quiet. You've got to watch what you're saying. And every now and then somebody comes forward that we allow, somebody who, and I love this guy. You know who I'm talking about,
This
right?
is what most Americans
Now, first of all, I like him a lot, okay? I like him a lot. But he is a child. I want you to understand something. He has a hard time with women. He has a hard time. He's like a three-peckered goat. He was raised in this Kennedy idea where somehow a man's worth is dependent upon and contingent upon the amount of people he's bedded, the women he's conquered. This is something that they believe to be true. And you may think that's a bit exaggerated, but it's absolutely not. I mean it 100%. He is the prototypical Kennedy. And this is a guy who believes this. He's got some very serious issues. And he's, the heroin and the father. And I mean, so understand something. He is not perfect. I hope they really don't go and explore all the stuff that happened to the prior wives and girlfriends. It's not going to be pretty. That notwithstanding, okay, put that aside. What he is saying, aside from that, makes 100% total sense as to other matters.
This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way. Until the early 1990s, our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now, in 2024, we're finally waking up to this cataclysm, and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen? A big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poisons in our food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every
He's in the
supermarket
store.
aisle. Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its, Captain Crunch, gummy bears. Everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to see that the ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called tetrazine, or yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when you turn coal into coke for blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of. One of the ways that they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric dye, why not food? Food manufacturers began using it to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods that they wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. They didn't know back then that this yellow dye, tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety, depression, intestinal injuries. Well, we know it now. We've known this for decades. That's why tartrazine is heavily restricted in other countries. In some countries, foods with tartrazine have a warning label that it may cause ADHD in children. Today, it's made from petroleum, not coal tar. Either way, it's crazy.
I'm going to keep watching this, okay? I just want you to watch this because you've got to get the whole story.
See, to add this to your kids' favorite foods. It doesn't even change the flavor. This yellow dye isn't just in junk food. It's in the foods that we consider healthy. It's in everyday kids' snacks like popcorn, mac and cheese, fruit snacks. It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water. It's even added to chicken broth, to corn, to pickles, to mustard, and to yogurt. And so, of course, our kids get sick. And we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins, which have, surprise, tartrazine. And so the cycle continues until coughs and asthma kick in, at which point you go to pick up some cough syrup. And yeah, you guessed it, tartrazine. I've been picking on tartrazine today, but that's just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD, potassium bromide, chemical after chemical, and on and on and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That has never been studied. If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer, genetic damage, asthma, and many of the other
And how long did that take? How long were they told about this before they said, okay, all right, we'll go ahead and ban it?
conditions as tartrazine does. And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken under President Trump. But the
Wait a minute. What was that? Wait a minute. What did you say? Hold on. What?
It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives.
Is that missing? Do not discuss diet, the Middle East, especially with people in this country. Middle East, maybe. I don't even attempt that one. It's not even nuanced, but I don't. But don't talk about diet. Don't. Absolutely believe. I give up. I don't even. People have this idea, and you know what? And I'm really, when I mean this, I really, honest to God, I mean this with all my heart. Don't get into it. Don't talk about. They'll talk about things like keto diet or don't. I'm not talking about diets. This is about just adding things. That's all. Just stuff that's added. You don't know how bad we are. Do you know in the past, I want to say a month, I've learned that 4 people that are in our orbit, 1 died from the most aggressive form of glioma or glioblastoma, these brain cancers, and 3 others as well. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, I know. I don't know. I'm not a physician. I'm not like Fran Lebowitz. I don't make comments. But a couple of things are interesting. Do you know years ago that if you had told somebody, in fact, there was a joke I used to, it wasn't a joke, but I said, I wonder who is the best doctor in the world for penile reductions. The best to reduce phallus girth. I bet you he's sitting in his office, and there's cobwebs on the phone, and he's waiting. I always wondered about that. You know, who are these people who kind of wait for these things? Like, okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. You know, these very rare things. And there are these wonderful, incredible findings. Did you know, for example, well, as I was saying, in the old days, do you know what that would have been like? There would have been even fewer people. Pediatric oncology. I don't know what year it was, 30, 20, 1940, who knows? But kids they had started to get leukemia, but kids really weren't getting cancers. Really, I mean, not like now. Now we have pediatric oncology. Kids born sometimes with cancer. Where did this come from? I don't know. We can guess. I don't just throw out things like environment. I don't know. Colin Campbell has a book called The China Study, and it changed my life. And of course, people just attack him because and this is a guy who came from the dairy industry, and okay, fine. And he gave this one statistic, which was so interesting. In 1958, please forgive me, you can read this. They looked at the number of men in Japan who died of prostate cancer. 1950, whatever this particular study was. And it was something like 8 or 18 or some number that is just, you think this is a mistake. Today, with the emergence of the Western diet and others as well, the number's going to, I don't even want to venture a guess, but it's significantly greater. Okay, we know all this. This is the American reaction. You ready? As is most cases. And then they move on. That's it. We'll watch videos about it. We love to watch videos. We love it. But we're not going to do anything about it. And I've learned that. I have learned. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I ask a question, which is very, very important. Very, 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 very important. What are we going to do about this, my friends? What are we going to do? What do we do? What we do is we make sure that everybody that is within our orbit knows about voting for President Trump. Chris Christopherson died today. I believe it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. Raul says the roulette wheel of dictators is still spinning. Indeed. El, do you figure them people are scared? Yes. If you're talking about yes. Oh, yes. The Kamala supporter. Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And for reasons I don't understand. It's like when you say, how long did you wait? How long did you wait before you thought you should have done something? When did you finally realize that this woman is a complete idiot and that she wouldn't be able to last? When did you first realize this? This I don't know. Now, my friends, a couple of things before I forget. Number one, I want to remind you, as we're talking about strikes and as we're talking about all of this jazz, so to speak, with 35 days until the election, I am telling you, dear friends, that there is something that is going to happen. And it is, I don't know when, I don't know what the particular circumstances are, but it's going to be involving food. It's going to be regarding a calamity. And it is so important and so critical that we understand, and this is important, that we grasp the idea that one of these days, food that we've talked about is not guaranteed, is not always going to be available, and that it takes the slightest little hiccup in the supply chain for people to understand. What people don't grasp here in New York, in Manhattan in particular, is that we have 2 days of food in this place. Everything is trucked in. 2 days. You wouldn't be far off when you say your supply chain. You just are used to things showing up. And every now and then something will happen. There will be a weather problem. There will be not tsunami. There'll be a hurricane or a snowstorm, and people will rush to the store, and they'll see an empty shelf or something, and they'll say, "What if?" And the next thing you know, things are corrected, and that's what. There was a time when we had supply chains. We had all these ships, these cargo ships that couldn't come in. Cars were delayed. This was delayed. There was one time where we had over a weekend. It was ransomware, if I recall correctly, and for some reason, I don't know why, but they actually had oh God. Gas stations shut down because of ransomware. Don't ask me why. Anyway, they were closed and trucks couldn't get it. It takes one little hiccup in the chain and then it starts going crazy. Then these people who go crazy, and I spend a lot of time, a lot of entertainment, watching people on YouTube lose their mind over traffic stops. Imagine what you will go to if you go to a Kroger or a Trader Joe's or a whatever it is, or a Whole Foods, and they're closed. And they're closed because their insurance adjusters, their underwriters say, we don't want people there because we're going to be risking, we don't have enough security, just shut it down. And then when one shuts down, another one will shut down. And then there'll be this panic. And then there's people who go crazy. We've never had Hunger Games before. And it takes just a little moment of, and you're going to say, what do we do? And you go to your cupboard and you go to your larder and you have nothing. You've got some stuff. You're okay for a day or two, but you thought you had all this, and you've got kids. Can you handle the delay, the variety? What about energy? What about water purification? Preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com. Here is this is the link. This is incredible. You will thank God for this. This is not like a luxury, like, no, this is critical. This is critical. Preparewithlionel.com. And I want to throw in our other, this is not, I don't know about you, but to me, luxuriation and being comfortable and being happy and supporting an American company with an American product, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Can't say it enough. I don't have to explain to you why slippers are nice or pillows. I think you know. I think you probably have an idea about that. You don't need me to tell you. These are the best. These are wonderful. These are American. And there are MyPillow families. And what they've done to that man is, to me, beyond anything, beyond the pale. October the 26th, I'll be at the Cutting Room. The link is available here as well. And I want to leave you with this one idea. This is very important. This is from a fellow named Brett Stevens from the New York Times. This is regarding our own Eric Adams. And I want New Yorkers to think about this. He says, so I'm not going to join the stampede calling for Adams's immediate resignation, particularly because his would-be interim successor, Jumaane Williams, the public advocate, is a Democratic socialist. I also have to wonder whether accepting discounted airline tickets and sleeping in a nice hotel room are the kind of offenses that should bring down an elected mayor. As Leo Leibovitz wrote in Tablet, quote, prosecuting New York City mayors for their proximity to one form or another of local corruption is like prosecuting bartenders for their proximity to gin. We are looking at a new form of threat to our civilization, and you can call them socialists or whatever it is. It's beyond that. It's a radicalized version of these folks that are pushed out. They are lined up. And there's one rule I've learned about New York politics, and yours might be as well. Whenever somebody quits or is booted out of office or termed out. You think this was the worst person ever. The person afterwards turns out to be worse, if that makes sense. All right, dear friends. Thank you so very much. Laurie Cuck, Raul Rodriguez, I thank you. Christian Janus, Cobbs, Road Hill, Kevin, and American Rebel. Thank you immensely. Remind you, tomorrow night, we're going to have the greatest moment ever. The debate of debates. Tampon Timmy against J.D. Vance. This is going to be monumental. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you plan. We will meet before at 7. It's then at 9 o'clock, and then we'll meet afterwards. Tomorrow's going to be huge, as the kids say, huge. All right? Okay. Don't forget also follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. I cannot emphasize it enough. Thank you so much for her support and the like. And also, I want to thank you subscribing to Lionel Legal. Yesterday, I did 2 commentaries on the most corrupt politician today. Her name is Tiffany Henyard. She's out of Dalton, Illinois. She's the village mayor and the township supervisor. She is the Boss Tweed, the Tammany Hall, and she hasn't even gotten a parking ticket. Go figure that one out. All right, dear friends, have a great, a glorious, a beauteous, a lovely, a gorgeous, a wonderful day. And I thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe here, and we have more videos. Remember, Lionel Nation, Lionel Legal. All right, dear friends, have a great day. See you tonight at 7. Don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dad.